You guys are gonna leave me alone with this guy?
All right, so we brought this up at the media day the other day, but I know a lot of coaches, yourself included, don't like to dwell in the past too much, especially since we're about 10 months since it's happened. However, it was significant, the first regional title in the program's history last year. Touch on that a little bit, and then how that experience was, what it felt like to be the first, and then how that may or may not have helped you recruiting during this offseason.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, anytime you win a championship, it's enjoyable. I mean, I think athletes often measure, how they're doing by those sort of things, and so as a coach, it feels really good to be part of a coaching staff because I do have excellent assistants, and we're definitely a team effort. But it's fulfilling to kind of see all of the hard work that you put into a group pay off with winning a championship. But yeah, at this point, it's just great memories, and that's the beautiful thing to me just about life in general, is that we all have opportunities to just create great memories for ourselves. But if you dwell on it for too long, it's old news at this point, and we got to get ready for a new season. And we're humble and hungry, as kind of two of our big H words we throw around all the time and use, to do even more this year. And that's what we're focusing on now.
Great. And did you see any changes in recruiting, whether when you and your coaches signed things proactively, or the way that you were being contacted by recruits because of that success?
Well, nothing major. I think the biggest time, and this goes back a couple years, but the biggest time that there was a noticeable difference in not only the number of players, but also the quality of players who reached out, was when we qualified for nationals for the first time ever in program history on the men's side back in 2021. That was when I really noticed, okay, there's volume-wise, but also the quality and type of player we were getting really jumped. I think over the last couple of years, it's kind of stayed pretty much the same, but often players or the agents that reach out will allude to, hey, you guys had a really good year last year, I want to be part of that sort of environment, and so on. So it never hurts.
Let's move into this season. First I want to touch on, not a lot of discussions happen for this group of people, but why don't you touch on your coaching staff and who you got on staff and what they mean to the team and kind of what their role will be.
Yeah, okay. Well, first of all, Coach Orth, Dave Orth, he and I have worked together for a few years here at Harford, but he also happens to teach in the same public high school where I teach. That's where we initially met. We were both coaching on the staff for the boys team at North Harford High School. He happens to be a goalkeeper, and goalkeeper, coach as well. It fits perfectly since he knows the position well. He still plays in men's league, so a bit of a soccer addict as I am. So that's kind of nice, and that fits really well because it is a very specialized position, and you need an expert in that area, and so he does a great job with that. He's again, a soccer addict, junkie, whatever you want to call it. There's far worse things I think we can be addicted to in life. But he's always watching games. He's up on latest sort of trends and whatnot, and styles of play and formations and all that sort of stuff. So we always have a healthy give and take. He's good at being more than just a yes man. He's willing to share his opinion, and plenty of times when it differs, and I need that, from maybe what I'm thinking, and we strike a good balance, I think. But yeah, he's a wonderful man and a great friend. I couldn't ask for a better, first assistant. Our second assistant, this will be his second year, is a former player. And this is extremely gratifying just on a personal side, because when I was an assistant coach, before I became head coach here, Michael Femia, who's our second assistant coach, he was a player here for a year. And great young man. I'd actually known him from the local area over the years, coaching and actually playing with his father, those sort of things. So there was kind of a long-standing history there. So I was really excited to get to work with him, when he came here as a player. He did well for himself and then moved on to Lancaster Bible College, a really good D3 program up in Pennsylvania, not too far from here. Did really well up there as a player, all conference. I think he was leading scorer on the team both years he was up there. So anyway, had a great career. Has gone on and gotten married, and just recently he and his wife had their second child. So it's just, for me, comes full circle, where he's able to kind of bridge the gap, because as you can see who I am, Coach Orth is a little bit younger, but not that much. So, sometimes the players are kind of like, okay, these old guys, they played back in the day when, so on. So it's nice to have a younger guy who was here at Harford and can kind of like, hey guys, I can relate, like been there, done that, and it was just the last couple of years, So yeah, he's again just a great addition to our staff. So I feel very grateful and blessed to be able to work with both those guys.
That's great. Yeah, well, I wanted to touch on the assistants. There's not a lot, once the season gets going, not a lot of talk about the assistants, and I know how important they are to the programs, whether it be soccer or volleyball, basketball, whatever. The assistant coaches are vital to our team, so I appreciate you sharing that.
No worries. They both are well deserving of every bit of recognition they get.
Excellent.
Great men.
Let's move into talking about the guys that will be out on the pitch for you this year. Let's start with some of your impact newcomers. Talk to us about who's returning, and you don't have to list every single returner, but maybe some of those that stick out.
All right. Well, at the junior college level, you often have a high rate of turnover. It's to be expected. At best, you might get a player for 2 years. And if you have really successful teams, often it's because players have had really good seasons, and so now they're getting opportunities. And so it's difficult when even though last year we were very young and most of our players were first year players last year, but we had such a good year, and it was again the product of their hard work, and so a lot of these younger guys did have opportunities to go elsewhere. So to me, that was one of the biggest recruiting kind of challenges, was to get a bunch of these guys back if possible. And I try really hard to make sure, first of all, that I'm always respecting their view and their opinion. It is their life. And I don't want to overly kind of influence them as much as I'd love to have certain players back, obviously. To do something unless I genuinely feel like it's in their best interest. A case in point from a previous year would be Rex Pierce, who was an All-American for us last year. And he's now, at a Division I 4-year school on a really good scholarship, up in Michigan, Detroit Mercy. But he also had a good first year. I think I'm pretty good with numbers. They stick in my head. 7 goals and 4 or 5 assists roughly his first year, and that's not bad. He decided to come back, even though he had some offers to go elsewhere. He decided to come back for a second year at Harford and basically double his output, 15 goals and 7 assists, and JUCO All-American. And now all of a sudden he's getting opportunities that he never had after his first year. So if I kind of feel that's the situation, then of course I encourage them, to come back. But that being said, some of the big time players we have coming back, it's easy to put out numbers offensively because goals and assists are kind of easy to keep track of. So for example, we have up front, we have Michael Cespedes and Tyshir Lawrence. Both of them had 8 or 9 goals, and Tyshir had probably at least 4 or 5 assists as well. So to have both of them back up front, is helpful to kind of fill in for where Rex is leaving. That being said, we also had a central midfielder, more attacking or offensive-minded center mid, Christian. And Christian had probably 8 or 9 goals as well, and 4 or 5 assists. So all 3 of them are back, and we're excited to have them back. So offensively, that's a great kind of nucleus to build around.
Right.
We have numerous other guys I could list, because literally we have 14 or 15 guys back. And really they're all deserving of credit and recognition because they all play a role, they all play a part. So we're excited. On the back line in particular, we have a center back. He played both out wide for us as an outside back, but also as a center back, Ethan Ducon, and he'll be a great kind of leader for us on the back line. But the newcomers we have coming in, we're confident that they'll be able to fill in and help us right off the bat, as they say.
So talk about a couple of those newcomers, much like you did with the returners. Who kind of stands out that you think is going to, at least to start the season, really be impactful to this squad this year?
Yeah, and again, I hate in a team sport, I always struggle with this as a coach, because I try really hard to make sure that everyone knows how important they are to the team.
Yeah.
And whether you're a starter or number 28th guy on a roster where you only play 11 on the field, people don't know soccer, right? So, that's down the depth chart a ways. But we try to make sure that everyone understands and genuinely feels that they are appreciated and valued for the role they play.
Well, let me phrase it to you a different way then.
Yeah.
And maybe make you feel a little bit more confident. What are some of the expectations of and for the newcomers from you, the staff, the returning players? What are you all looking to get from the freshmen that are coming in to this squad this year?
We try hard to set our standards and expectations for how we operate really high. And that's everything from on the field to off the field in the classroom. And so we really rely on the second year guys who should have by now figured out kind of how we do things and what our kind of core values are and our principles that we really stand by and operate under. And so their influence is massively significant in making sure the new guys come in and say, hey, this is how we roll.
Right.
We do this, we don't do that. We're all about this. This is big to us. And we have guys that do that. One that really sticks in my mind is a returning goalkeeper. Goalkeeper by definition is a leadership position.
Right.
And Archie Bennett is fabulous at that. He does a really good job. He's vocal. He commands situations. Some of that might come from the goalkeeper, personality, which often is a little bit different. But yeah, no, he does a really good job of kind of making sure everyone's clear on that and that we stick to our standards and our expectations and we don't drop off. And, I think a struggle is complacency. When you've had a really good year or a couple really good years, it's easy for guys to come in, and especially if they are part of that last year, to kind of feel like, hey, I've got it made per se, or we're going to be great just because we've got so many guys back from last year's team. And, and I tell them we haven't won anything yet this year. It's, all there to be taken, so we've got to make that happen. But we definitely have some new guys coming in that are going to do amazing things, and you'll start hearing about them.
Yeah. When you look back on this season coming up, let's say, I don't know, I'm trying to remember the schedule off the top of my head, but let's say it's Thanksgiving weekend, right? We've had the turkey, we've spent time with our family. You're really relaxing that weekend, and you're looking back on this season. How will you define success for this season? What does that mean to you?
Yeah, that's a tough question. For me, it goes far beyond just what they're doing on the field. that's great, and obviously there's got to be some sort of competitor in you, or you don't go into coaching.
Yeah.
You know, you might miss it from your playing days. You might still be trying to play to get some of that, but bottom line, that's just depressing because you can't do what you used to. So there's got to be that competitor in you as a coach. But I also see it, you know, as an educator. That's just something that I love being around. To see individuals, but also groups, collectively grow and develop and progress. You know, that's just fun to be around. So, you know, whether that's in the classroom, last year we had at least 7 or 8 guys both semesters with 4.0s. Right? Our team GPA was incredible, you know, but it's everywhere. You mentioned Thanksgiving. This is when you know you've had a really successful season. We also have quite a few players from, you know, a variety of different countries. Literally, we had 6 different continents represented last year. What was really cool was on Thanksgiving, when I was down in Texas with my own sons, right, celebrating Thanksgiving with them, I got texts and pictures of players all at one of the local players' home who had invited them for Thanksgiving, right? And there was 8 or 10 of these guys, maybe even more, I don't know, I can't remember, but the pictures were full of a bunch of our guys all celebrating a Thanksgiving meal together. That's where I see that, okay, this was a successful year, not just because of some championship we won, but these guys, a local guy and his family cares enough about his teammates to say, hey, they're not going anywhere for Thanksgiving. They may not even really know what Thanksgiving's all about. Let's welcome them in our home and let's show them what that's about. I think the true measure ultimately, though, is down the road a lot further than just, you know, a couple months. You do have time to reflect, but have these guys form some lifelong friendships that go beyond just, we played for a year on a, you know, soccer, football, whatever you want to call it. We got a lot of different languages to name the sport in. But anyway, are they still there for each other? Right. And we talk about weddings and funerals and kind of the mentality of you're there for them in the happy, joyous times. You're there for them in the sorrowful, difficult times. Yeah. If they're there for each other, lifelong type friends, then that's when you know you were really successful.
Absolutely. So my next question has to do with something you just touched on. And I'm not sure if you realize that, but I'm willing to bet that those that are watching this, probably about 99% of them don't know this, but you talked about the classroom aspect. And many individuals getting all academic accolades. As a team, you guys were over a 3.0 GPA. You were one of only 7 men's soccer programs to earn all academics as a team. And you were the only men's soccer program in the region to earn those accolades. What does that mean to you and the coaches, just and the program overall? And how does that help moving forward with, you know, recruiting and helping guys get to the next level?
Well, first of all, thanks for sharing. You know me, Rocco, well enough to know I don't do much social media, so I'm sure that got blasted somewhere.
We're working on it,
And I didn't even know that. Some of those statistics that you just shared, I appreciate that. I knew that we'd had a really good year in the classroom. Well, first of all, I'm a big believer in that as human beings, we're creatures of habits. And, you know, this is something that we preach all the time. You know, I try to, you know, live by it myself. I tell the players all the time that I'm going to fall short of being the man I want to be, being the coach I want to be, and I need their help in kind of living up to the ideals we have. But, you know, whether we're in a classroom setting or just in our personal life or out on an athletic field, we carry our habits with us. And so we've tried really hard to, first of all, recruit the type of player who's going to do really well in the classroom as well. Conscientious, disciplined, driven type of people on the, you know, field carry those same characteristics into the classroom. And that's just how they operate, and they don't know any different. And some guys that maybe aren't quite there, hopefully being around that with their teammates rubs off on them a bit.
Right.
And they see models for, okay, this is what it takes. You know, when I take them on the campus tour initially, whether it's as a recruit, you know, or when they come here for the first time, some of the internationals, you know, they don't have a chance to come on a recruiting trip, you know. So they come on campus for the first time, and I take them to the most important room, right, on campus. And I always let them guess, you know, what's the most important room? Because I like to play guessing games. It's the Learning Center. And we talk about what an amazing opportunity they have, that you have a school here that cares enough about your success academically that they provide you with free tutoring. Walk-in or appointments, it doesn't matter, about as convenient as you can get, you know, on anything you might ever need help with. And so we kind of start stressing from the very beginning when we first are meeting them and seeing them that this is important to us. I mean, obviously then if you need some added motivation, because hey, we all have our different strengths and weaknesses, but guys that want to move on, and we've gotten to the point where that's what we're attracting more than anything, is players that want to move on. They're educated from the very beginning that you don't move on, or you move on to probably I want to say a lesser school, but not the variety of options you'd have if you don't have the grades. Getting the grades opens up options, opportunities to, you know, just about any school possible. You know, if your grades are so-so or below, you're limiting greatly, you know, where you're going to be able to go after you leave Harford.
Sure. Season kicks off for you this year, August 28th against Prince George's. Will be right here at Harford. Talk about, you know, what you guys are doing to get ready for that match. I know it's still quite a little bit away. How things are going so far, and just what the overall, as the kids would say, vibe is with the team right now.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I mean, I think, Rocco, you have to talk to some of the players to get the truth on that as far as the vibe. I'm loving it. But no, seriously, I am blessed to work with young people. I feed off their energy. You know, they've got everything in front of them. You know, they've got that great vibe that I just love. That being said, I love quotes. And my quote is, Rome wasn't built in a day, but I continue on with my own little part, but it was built one day at a time, or day by day. And so that's what we try to stress, because, you know, as a coach or a player, yeah, it's easy to be like, I want to see the finished product now. It's just not going to happen that way. And I always try to tell them, look, if we're playing our best right now, then I must have done a terrible job. Because if the best you have is when you first show up, and then as we go through the season, it actually goes downhill from there, there's something wrong, right? So we're trying to just take it day by day. One day at a time, we add a little piece, you know, to our, you know, Rome that we're building, as we say. And we're trying to, right now, more than anything, very clearly set what the tone is, what the expectations, the culture of our team, intentionally doing a lot of different things, whether it's through the practice exercises we do, or just the things we're saying and the other activities we're doing, intentionally kind of building our culture to be what we want it to be. And that's important to us.
Last question for you.
Yeah.
And I'm going to change your vantage point here a little bit for this question. I want you to look right into the camera and talk to the folks that are watching
All
this.
right.
I want you to tell them why faculty, staff, students, fans, family, why they should come out to Harford Stadium to see the Fighting Owls men's soccer team play this year.
Well, first of all, you're going to miss a great show if you're not there. But really, if you take the time to get to know any of these young men, they have some amazing stories. And that's one of the things that we do to kind of get players to get to know each other. We have something we call their 4-H's, and they have to share with us their history, all right? And then they share with us their heroes. They share with us their heartaches or hardships, and then they share with us, right, their hopes. And we do that together as a team bonding exercise, and each player individually gets up in front and shares. And when you get to know a person on a human level, you really want to root for them. When you find out some of the things in their history, or some of the hardships they've dealt with, or who their heroes are and why, what it is that they hope for, personally, but also as a team collectively, it's easy to start rooting for them. And the guys often will talk about their favorite teams, and of course they all are rooting for somebody, and they'll ask me, Coach, who's your favorite team? And I always have one reply: Harford. Because I become emotionally attached to these guys, and I would rather watch them play than any professional team play, and I truly, genuinely mean that. And that's why I'd say come out. If you don't know the players yet, take the time to get to know some of them. They are absolutely great young men. They're like all of us. They're imperfect. They're human beings. They have their strengths and their weaknesses. Hey, anyone out there that has a role in kind of shaping them, please don't hesitate, right? They need that guidance and whatnot. But yeah, come out and support them. They're worth watching, and as any human being, they're worth supporting.
Thanks a lot, Coach. Big thank you to head men's soccer coach Bill Wardle. Men will kick off the season, as we said earlier, on Thursday, August 28th against Prince George's Community College. That game is scheduled for a 6:30 kickoff. And this year, Harford is hosting both the men's and women's Region 20 Division I tournament, getting started on October 30th, running through November 2nd. More information on that tournament will come later in the season. Thanks again, Coach.
Appreciate you, Rocco. Thank you. And thank you to everyone that comes out and supports our team.